Hello and welcome to my next book discussion video for The Ninth Configuration by William Peter Blatty. Today we're going to talk about how an author can be kind of typecast based on their previous work and how that affects the reader's experience. So in the case of The Ninth Configuration by William Peter Blatty, he wrote The Exorcist and its sequel Legion. And because of that, they kind of slapped that on the cover of this book. And as a result, you go in thinking you're getting an experience similar to that of The Exorcist. In some ways you do. There are themes present in this book that are present in The Exorcist and in Legion. Among those would be the conversations the characters have about God, this concept of a deep and meaningful sacrifice, are both present in this book and in his other works. But that's not what you would think you're getting based on this cover and the, Exorcist namesake by any stretch of the imagination. You would think you were getting this visceral horror novel. And what you really get with this book is a comedy of sorts. With its timing, its delivery, even in the movie version, you're getting an experience that's much more comedic, although very deep and kind of sad. More like a tragedy of sorts. This one reads kind of like a play. It's about these patients in a psychiatric hospital who have gone, for lack of a better term, kind of Looney Tunes. And you have this psychiatric evaluator with his own demons here to process this information and try to cure these guys. And their behavior is very funny. Up until the very end, it really goes in a different direction. But it isn't an experience like that of The Exorcist by any stretch of the imagination. So why do they do this? The simple answer is they do this to try to sell more copies of the book. But as a result, you as the reader kind of suffer because your expectations aren't being met. If they would have just told me what this book was and told me that it was by my favorite author, I would have been much more happy reading through it knowing what I was getting myself into. I like surprises, but I don't like being led astray. Now, with that being said, I understand why they do this. They're trying to sell as many copies of the novel as possible. But if you're going to do that, why not take the Richard Bachman approach with, the Stephen King stuff? He wrote under Richard Bachman to get away from readers' expectations of Stephen King. And even though The Running Man is one of my least favorite books of all time, my expectations were different because I wasn't expecting it to be Stephen King. I knew he was doing something experimental and something different. You don't have to do that. You don't have to change the author's name. But for crying out loud, you could at least tell us, hey, this isn't The Exorcist Part 3 or 4 or 5. It's The Ninth Configuration, and it's totally different.